on China's AI governance, I'm joined by Sherif Higazy, founder and CEO of Megaton AI. Great to have you on the program this evening. Leaders are calling it one of the most urgent challenges of our time. What are the dangers of unregulated AI?
Well, I think there's a few principal issues like the unemployment problem, or how the minute the AI becomes ubiquitous in our economy, you're going to have all the labor displacement. But I think what we're seeing with conflicts such as what's happening in Russia and Ukraine, it's becoming much more a pressing issue to think through how AI is going to be integrated into both military technology as well as military doctrine in general. So I think those two elements are the ones that are most urgent for all global policymakers to start hashing out now and figure out what is the framework to evolve them in those two elements efficiently.
Beijing is leading the way in AI regulation. What does that say about China's priorities, and what lessons can other AI regulators learn?
Well, I think there's a few things that I think are just very positive coming from the Chinese regulators, as well as the Chinese business culture, where the fact that it is pursuing transparent open source models, the fact that even though it does have a robust regulatory regime, it isn't throttling AI advancements. I think the example it leads is that you can have responsible, transparent models without necessarily having to throttle innovation. And I think for us to be able to stick the landing and have a thriving AI industry, that's really the balance that I think global policymakers are going to have to strike.
We have this formal meeting set for Geneva next year. Excuse me. One of the big concerns, of course, is that given AI is moving so quickly, how do you get this big global agreement on something that's so complex with vast different invested interests from all over the world in time before it's too late? I mean, AI is speeding up, and can regulators actually catch up?
No, that is the pressing danger of our time. I do think, though, that it's incumbent upon, the two great powers, right, China and the US, to lead the way. I mean, they have to lead by example, right? So it's not ideally that sort of like how nuclear doctrine evolved, where a lot of the great powers sort of came together and said, this is an existential danger to humanity and to all sorts of facets of human civilization, and so we have to ensure we coordinate. Hopefully that can happen, but if it doesn't, I do think it's incumbent upon the Chinese government, the American government, to lead by example. And a lot of that will mean responsible disclosure of models, responsible disclosure of how it's being integrated into military systems. All those things will have to be part of that global governance regime. And again, the two great powers are going to have to lead the way by example.
But no doubt different countries are going to have different political interests in terms of the way they regulate their own AI. So, when it comes to these summits, then these conversations, these debates that are happening in the UN right now, how do you get countries on the same page? I mean, look at how long it took for the US and China to agree on TikTok, for example. Something like AI that is so much more complex and moving far more quickly, given the politicized nature of technology these days. What will it take to get everyone on the same page to make an agreement?
I think it's just the unfortunate reality of this specific technology that because it's so existential, ideally, we have to impress upon all global policymakers that this is an existential danger. And in the same way that sort of the way nuclear weapons doctrine evolved, which I think is the closest analogy I have, a lot of countries came to the same consensus about how you create safeguards around this technology. So I think that should be, and hopefully will become, a forcing function for a lot of these global policymakers to coordinate. Other than that, the other solution really is for countries to propose solutions that are de-escalatory. I think a lot of tech leaders have, proposed things like pausing training runs, et cetera. while I doubt that's actually going to be effective, I think if any of these, again, these large companies or these large tech leaders can sort of say, okay, these are ways that we can at least maybe slow down model training, or even say publish safety reports transparently about how their models behave in sort of extreme circumstances. Again, anything that can establish the danger of this technology, I think will be a forcing function.
Right. All right. It's going to be a very interesting year ahead. I really appreciate your time, Sherif Higazy, for us there.
Of course.